Hey, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Ryan, and I'm joined by...
I'm Nerdarchy Ted.
Nerdarchy Dave.
So today we're going to talk about monsters in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons out of the Monster Manual. We're going to be talking about the Githzerai. That's going to be page 159 of the good book of the Monsters Manual. So, there we go. What do we think about this austere race?
Very cerebral and
And it even says they're psionically adept.
They are without actual rules for the fact that Nate's done more writing on psionics than we've seen from WotC thus far. So that's kind of funny.
So as cool, monk type characters, psionically aware kind of characters, I think they're pretty neat. I think these guys, more than their counterparts of the Githyanki, these guys could be more encountered as like a role-playing aspect.
they don't have to be the bad guy.
They don't have to be the bad guy.
No. They could be, but they don't have to be.
I think it's pretty badass that they've got, the serious monks have the ability to plane shift just using their mind. I think that's just totally badass.
Well, so to set it up, I mean, we went a little bit into it in the Githyanki video, but being they're also Gith, and they're sort of like a schism off of the race that's just like, what Gith had done is just become this militaristic, like basically, what's their disciple? Oh, Zerimon. So Zerimon was basically, well, you're doing the exact same sort of slavery
that the Illithids
did us, and, we think you're, going about this wrong. So she led a faction away. Was it he or she, actually?
I don't know if they even
her.
said.
Yeah, it was her. Or no, okay. So Gith was female, Zerimon was male.
Yeah.
So
basically, all Gith derived from the same race. They were all enslaved by the Illithids. Gith was actually the hero that broke the bondage of the Illithids, and Zerimon was basically one of the Gith that said, you're just trying to be a bigger douche than the Illithids and enslave us all, so I don't want to do that, and it's a bad idea, so we should go over here. And Zerimon had followers that said, okay, we'll go over here. And they set up shop in Limbo and started kung fu fighting.
Well, the best part is, first off, we should say that this is kind of sets into motion an ages-old conflict.
Right.
That's lasted millennium. Pirates versus ninjas, because Githyanki are space pirates, astral pirates. They're monastic, so they're basically monks, which you could reskin as ninjas. So clearly, you got to have conflict between
Raiders
the two.
versus monks is pirates versus ninjas.
Yeah, exactly. So, and them setting up shop in Limbo, which is all chaos around them, they're so badass and focused that they're like, no, we're going to shape the chaos around us and manifest it.
Yeah,
we were so disciplined.
They flipped the bird to chaos, and I think that gives them a slight advantage over their age-old enemy, the Githyanki, as well, in the sense that the astral plane prevents aging, which means Gith to set up hatcheries throughout the prime material planes, which it was actually a vulnerability to them. And the Githzerai, they set up. It actually says monastery fortresses in Limbo, after they break Limbo to its will. So, so they can happily, train in kung fu fighting, psionics, and breeding.
Yeah.
All to their heart's content.
Right. Whereas on the Prime, people are going to have some problems with the Githyanki setting up shop. Illithids, other humanoids, the fact that Githyanki are kind of just like evil jerks that like go raiding and hunting into other people's lands, so people are going to like, we need to squash these people.
Yeah, we need to kill them while they're infants for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean,
the younglings.
It's kind of like the problem the stereotypical drow have. Like, you guys are evil, we don't want you anywhere near us, and we're going to band together against you.
Well, and the other thing, too, it really does disperse their points of interest that they would have to protect. Like, Githzerai, if they find out about these hatcheries, they can target them and start attacking them.
Which is pretty cool, because, like, it kind of puts it like a gray pall over something, because like, it's like pretty messed up to like kill somebody's young, but like they're not lawful good, they're lawful neutral,
right?
And they're like, well, I mean, if we don't do something now, these guys are going to be a threat later, so
Or what if they kidnap them?
Or kidnap. Well, almost like like Game of Thrones, like where and there was also a common things in nobility historically is to have a hostage.
Yeah.
Like to have hostages so you can like have accords or whatever.
Right.
Although the Githzerai might not even care till even. Well, they would sign an accord, but they might be so unwilling to even.
Not
do
with
that.
Githyanki, and Githyanki wouldn't sign with them either. I think there's such a hatred between the two that
Like, I don't care, kill him. Do it. Do it. You don't have the balls.
Where I was actually going is if they're young enough, possible for them to
Redeem them in the way.
Yeah, raise them as Githzerai.
Probably.
Would they know the difference? I mean, they both.
No, they are the same root race. So really,
they're both pretty fugly. So you're like, how would they know the difference?
Yeah. No, it's really like you might have like, it's like just slight like they're cultural differences really between the two races. It's not really. It's not a racial difference, like when fantastical races go,
And, it would be, the tactic would be twofold, What if they're like, all right, we raid their hatcheries, we take the ones that are young enough to change and influence, so we bolster our numbers by depleting theirs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah, it'd be a really, maybe they even hire slavers.
To do that
in the prime material planes to like do that for them too.
So that's a great way of using them in your game because like the PCs are automatically like slavers, these guys are evil, and then you find out like the actual real motives behind it were noble.
Yeah.
So you've set a good party against a good motive, but they don't really know that type of thing.
Then and then the other cool thing about interaction with the Githzerai is they'll allow monks that are of a higher level of consciousness actually join their monasteries.
Yeah,
and train with them. So they are definitely a more social race than the Githyanki, and they clearly don't have the same xenophobic outlook, where everything's a lesser being. Because if you prove yourself worthy, they'll allow you in. The problem is it is in limbo, so it's a little hard to reach.
Well, I mean, it could be that like you could be rescued in a Githzerai raid against Githyanki. You could be rescued by that party, but like things start to go south with the Githyanki like pouring out of somewhere, and all of a sudden they plane shift you with them. So like you're now at the monastery. Like so you're there. I mean like so it could be like
that would not put you lost in.
It would put you in limbo. It really would.
But if you'd be in their monastery, then it's not as bad.
Yeah, but I mean, there'd be another cool backstory for like a monk.
I don't think there's a bus stop there.
No, but that would be a cool backstory with a monk. Like, you were taken there while you're young, you train with them, and like your training was actually in limbo. So being on the prime is kind of weird because things are too static almost. Yeah. Like you're like, wait, why aren't things like moving past me or whizzing by or whatever?
Why is that tree just still there?
That tree's there, and like it's only moving like very predictably. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that would definitely be fodder for Nate the Nerdarch's soul knives. That'd be a cool background for one of them to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah, like definitely between the Githyanki and the Githzerai, like the psionics are so dripping. It's dripping with psionics between the psychic warrior, the soul knife, and
yeah, it fits nicely. Of the two factions, the Githzerai, again, they're the most amenable. But the other part of it is though, like how do you introduce them into your game as the villain? How do you make them, highlight them in the evil role, or at least as opposition? With the Githyanki, it's pretty easy. It's built right into them.
Yeah.
With these guys, it's a little tougher.
Yeah. So we had that one thing of like like them actually like lower levels like working with slavers, and then you start to uncover the actual motives behind it. So that could be something to kick off a low-level campaign where you're kind of opposed to them in the beginning, but then you find out what they're really doing. What else could we do?
Well, you mean you could have if the Githzerai are showing up to attack a hatchery, so to speak, you could see them. You could see the Githzerai, walking away from essentially like the destroyed building. And the PCs, come upon it and be like, did you guys just destroy that whole thing?
Did you guys just murder all those younglings?
Yeah.
Without knowing who's in there. It's like, well, yeah. And it could go right to combat because, you've got
presumptions.
Hot-headed people in the
Yeah.
party or presumptions.
Well,
being
or
made.
if they come on the scene after the Githzerai have left, or or they see them leaving, and they see basically all the murdered Gith babies.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, another thing too is an item could fall into the hands of the PCs that the Githzerai know that the Githyanki are going to want, but they're like, all right, we're gonna beat the Githyanki to it first, take this away from them, and then bring this back to our fortress in Limbo because it's too dangerous to have on the Prime. So, all right, they're just like, we're either going to take this thing by force, or going to hand it over.
Right.
Then those are the two options. No, nothing in between.
And then, of course, there's always the bad seed.
Yes, you could do that.
Or, or someone who is dedicated to, maybe they're the second in command or bodyguard to someone who's evil.
Right.
For whatever, they're lawful and they believe in order. If something happens where they are beholden to that person, they may even have to do distasteful things that they don't like doing in order to fulfill their obligation.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other sort of. I mean, yeah, it could easily, and they could also easily flip to lawful evil, because they're typically lawful neutral doesn't.
Well, yeah,
mean-
that's the bad seed idea as well. So like these guys are a little bit trickier to use, take a little more thought, but we've put out tons of ideas in previous of the series of ideas how to use that neutral or good monster as a baddie.
So they come into you or whatever, like on a raid, because unbeknownst to you, like a well-loved like NPC in the area, politician or whatever, is actually an Illithid or an enclave of Illithids that they're coming to hunt. They know their true identity.
They're hunting it.
They're hunting
their
a den of Illithids that nobody else knew was Illithids.
Yeah, but when they organize in a party like that, it's called a Rakma.
Yeah, so the Rakma is coming to take these Illithids out that nobody else knows is Illithids. And the party, for a little bit, is trying to defend the Illithids because they're like, oh, no, that's Frank the mayor. He's a great guy. He's excellent.
Or maybe a lot of it if they're actually polymorphed.
Right, yeah, exactly. And they don't let them on, and until like the very last encounter when they're like in the same room with the Illithids and the Githzerai are there like trying to attack them. The PCs are trying to defend them. The PCs fell to Githzerai, and then all of a sudden now they're contending with the Illithid because they're like, well, we can't leave anybody to even suspect that I might be. So...
Or as the last Githzerai falls, something in the Illithid's disguise is made, and the players can figure out. Wait a minute, something's not right.
Yeah,
and they start questioning him, and he's like mind blast.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if someone starts questioning you, the first response should probably be a mind blast.
Absolutely. So I mean, yeah, that would be especially going into our whole thing, like with the sort of like fancy noble club that we had with the Illithids. Like that could be a thing where like the Gith are actually the Githzerai are there to deal with the issue, and they're like, no, these are all respectable members of high society. What are you doing?
These guys are the best.
Yeah, they let me go on their fancy yacht and everything.
They save orphans from fires.
Yeah.
The other
they started the fire in the first place. It was a PR campaign. All right. Yeah.
The other thought I had
here.
is, what about a Githzerai warrior that goes around from place to place, challenging other warriors?
Yeah. I was thinking like the Korean Kung Fu thing where he's like looking for his like long lost father or brother.
Well, you could go that route too,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that'll make for an interesting adventure with your players.
No, we wouldn't. But yeah, he could be like Hercule from Dragon Ball Z or whatever, just like this pompous blowhard.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Send me your best warrior, your champion. I will defeat him in single combat.
Your Kung Fu is inferior to mine. Yeah,
pretty much.
Kung Fu theater wire food type of stuff. Yeah,
and maybe like the PCs, and maybe he takes a trophy every time he does it. So like maybe a warrior loses to him, and now that he's got their family heirloom weapon or item or whatever.
Yeah, it's got to be something that's important to them because like it's not a true trophy unless it was kind of deal.
Yeah. You're like your players encounter him, and he's like, I used to be an adventurer like you until I took a Githzerai to the knee. Can you go get my sword back, please?
I'd really appreciate it.
My wife's not going to leave me alone until I get this back.
Yeah, it's like a family heirloom. I got family. I got no heirloom. It's a whole thing. It's a
thing.
mess. Yeah.
So there's some interesting ways you can incorporate Githzerai into your game. Unfortunately, they're not as easily incorporated as the Githyanki. They just lend themselves so much better.
Indeed.
These are more of like role-playing encounter sort of things, or like a place, like a stopgap to maybe if you have to go through Limbo or travel the plains, You know, like, you get to go there to their monastery fortress and have, like, a safe haven for a little bit. So it's like having a friendly outpost to be at, because sometimes in between adventures, that's super important, too, just a place to resupply.
Yep. Well, that being said, too, they're also known to every once in a while, they will found the monastery on the prime material plane to teach the learnings of Zerimon. Or him, too.
Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Catch people on the ball.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you put people in the ball, you throw it out, Pikachu, it's all good.
So, again, since we're talking Gith, we got to talk Andrew Knapp, SR2 Joker, and his Gith game in the one-shot group.
So he's got a game that all the players are 7th level characters in D&D 5e, and you're all Githyanki. You're forced to be lawful evil. You all get, one of their silver swords, and you're getting to do raids on the prime material plane in Forgotten Realms. And, the whole thing is to kill Illithid's beholders and, establish that you're a raider. So...
And, and he's already introduced Githzerai as enemies, so...
Yeah.
So I'm sure that theme's going to continue throughout.
Clearly, in an adventure, it's going to be easy to pit the two against each other. Although I was thinking for a Githyanki, it would be kind of cool to play a Githyanki monk that's like, I'm going to do their monk thing better than them. Like,
there is
try and one-up them.
There is a monk character, except for, I think he's going with... I'm not positive, but I think he went with his sword. Silver sword was lost, and he's dishonored. And so he's been stripped of all of his armor and weapon. Yeah. And so he gained his honor. Mm. So he's basically fighting...
Becoming a monk to not become a monk?
Not be a monk? Basically.
Yeah.
Is the concept.
I know in the one-shot group, I know he was... there was somebody talking about a monk, and he's like, can I have silver hand wraps?
Mm. It's like, no. It's a silver sword. It clearly says it's a silver sword.
Well, he was allowing silvered weapons, or he was doing something with it. But anyway, like, anybody can join that game. He's going to be running several of them for the next few months. If you happen to see this before he's done with it, you can head over to the one-shot group and sign up for his games. It's not going to always be the same players. It's going to be episodic. It's just based around the same theme. You're our Gith. Thank you.
All right.
So if you have any comments you want to put on Githzerai, go ahead and put them down below. While you're doing that, go ahead and click like, share, subscribe.
You could join us on our monastery in Limbo at Facebook, just /Nerdarchy.
Or you can come contemplate with us at the Nerdarchy, how to stay nerdy.
How to stay Nerdarchy.
Yeah.
So until next time,
stay nerdy. Gift it.